Hi, I'm Garrick Olson. You can call me Dr. Rick. I'm a regular family physician in Minnesota in a small town called Hastings, mostly soybean and corns. And I'm here to talk about Land Rovers. I'm going to start by talking about this beauty here. This is the 2022 Defender 110 with a supercharged V8 engine in it. And it's the Bond edition. This thing is a copy from the factory of the three Defenders that were in the most recent James Bond movie, No Time to Die. And they were chasing James Bond through the Norwegian forest. And what I'm about to do here is an oil change on this girl. The manual says do it every 20,000 miles. I like to do it every 5,000 miles because I want to protect my timing chain. And I think that Spencer and Maurice Wilkes would have approved.
Eddie.
So, this Defender Bond Edition, I predict that of the 300 that are in the world and the 69 that came to the United States, this one is the only one in the upper Midwest. And I predict that there are very few of them that are not in a heated garage on a battery tender, letting all of their seals dry out with something like 20 miles on the total odometer. Mine, on the other hand, is driven in the Minnesota salty winters. It is awesome on the snow and on ice with the proper tires, and is very comfortable in the winter. So I think those people that have one and aren't driving it, you're really missing out, especially with this engine. It's a neck-snapping 513 horsepower. I mean, that's incredible. It's kind of too much, but you know, it's fun. Also, this is kind of a daily driver kind of rover for us. I've taken it on some green landing trips to through Moab and Ouray in Colorado. Nothing serious like I would with one of the other ones, but I would like to drive it every day. My wife takes it before I get a chance. So I guess it's kind of her daily driver. So it always comes up. Why Land Rovers? Why were you interested in them in the first place? What happened? And for me, it was like so many people, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I knew I wanted to go places like that. And it turns out the best way to get there was in a Land Rover. And then the Camel Trophy came out and was featuring the Discovery. And at the time, that was the SUV craze in the United States. And what really appealed to me was that it had a double airbag at its first incarnation for us. I thought that was very impressive. Nobody else had done that before. So that became a bit of my dream car, the Discovery. And then in graduate school, I was traveling in Europe with my wife, and we saw Land Rovers everywhere, from 1960s series Land Rovers all the way up to new Land Rovers at the time. That was 96 and 7. But we still got to see so many things, and everywhere we went, there were Land Rovers. And then what brings it all together is the people. Like, joining the Minnesota Land Rover Club in 1997 was even before I got my first Land Rover in 1998. The people have what made it so great, and we all share the spirit of adventure that brings us together and brings us to enjoy our Land Rovers together, whether it's in Moab, Utah, or in Western New York in Cortland, or at the Mid-Atlantic Rally in Virginia, which is also on my to-do list this year. Whatever it is, Land Rovers mean adventure. Oh. Oh. Okay. Well, and that's another part of loving Land Rovers, is you got to do a bit of your own work too. Like, I can introduce you to the rest of the little Land Rover family here. This is our 1960 Series 2. It's a true 2, and it's been in the family since 1998, the 50th anniversary of Land Rover. It's been a special find, and I feel like I've been through every little bit of her ever since. So she's been a special keeper for us. It's been all over the place, around the Circle Tour, into Canada, we took her out to the big 75th anniversary out in Western New York in Cortland. This lovely is our 2010 supercharged Range Rover, which has been an absolute delight and something of an expense to keep up, especially after I hit a deer and we took it on an off-road trail that was a little bit too tight and made a bit of pinstriping on the one side here. So we'll just deal with that as it comes. And then the other that we have here is the 1990 Range Rover short wheelbase. This is Little Boy. Little Boy's our off-roader. Little Boy's been through a lot, through a couple of members of the Minnesota Land Rover Club, and she is very much an off-roader with 35-inch tires, lockers everywhere, does snorkel, and she just goes on and on until she doesn't. She's looking at probably her last season of off-roading, and now is pretty much just resigned to trailer time instead of driving there on highways on her own. But Little Boy's been a treat for us. The one we're missing today is the 1996 Discovery 300 TDI, which is at the diesel shop getting an uprated turbo put into it so that we'll be able to drive out to California, to the Rubicon, to join the North California Club for Rubicon this year in 2025. Very much looking forward to preparing for that and going. So, at the end of the day, it's Land Rovers, and at the end of our day, we're back to the Defender. This is that Bond edition. I've done a couple of extra little touches like the tire cover and the license plate and the surround. But inside, that's where it really becomes Bond-like. First, we drop down the tray and the seating surface. Roll out the ice bucket, the martini glass, and the martini kit. Always available when off-roading. First driving, then drinking, not in the other order. Shaker down. Now you may wonder, why would I do such a thing as to get the James Bond Land Rover? Well, I've already shown you how I'm a Land Rover nut. I'm also a James Bond nut. Yes, I am going all the way back to George Lazenby with my current tuxedo outfit on. And I am planning a shaken, not stirred martini right now. But you must also know, I love the movies. I've raised my kids on the movies. My son has had a tuxedo for his birthday ever since he was 4. So it's been kind of part of everybody in my family's growing up. And it's part of our travels together too, that I bring the martini kit. So even though this is the time of day when it's leisure, I'm still thinking about what's next. I'm still thinking about the next Land Rover trip, the next adventure, and what it's gonna be like when I'm there with my Land Rover people and whichever Land Rover it happens to be. But I know it's gonna be an adventure.